So let's go ahead and hop right into today's webinar. So as you all know, hopefully the reason you joined this is Hudu and UVexplorer. We're really focusing on that automated network documentation today. So kind of the agenda today is what we'll go through is we'll go over some introductions one more time so you can learn a little bit more about us. We'll start with the Hudu side, do a quick Hudu overview for you if you are coming from that UVexplorer side. And then we'll go ahead and switch gears, hop into the UVexplorer overview. If you're coming from the Hudu side and you're curious to learn more about what UVexplorer offers, really excited to see that today. Brian will then take us through the integration walkthrough. Super excited to show off all of these integration capabilities to you today. And then Q&A, this is something that we'll always do at the end of these webinars, but again, we really want this Q&A to be as interactive as possible, so feel free to ask questions throughout. We'll make sure to get those answered for you, but we will have a designated Q&A section at the end as well. So one more introduction, as you can see these beautiful faces on the screen, well, at least two of them. My name's Daniel. I'm an account manager with Hudu. Typically handle all of our kind of webinar stuff, demo stuff. So if you are interested in learning more about Hudu after this call today, shoot me over an email. I'll put that in the chat today. You can always message me. We can schedule a one-on-one meeting. More than happy to take you through the platform and kind of talk about anything more in depth than what we talk about today. I'll shoot it over to you, Brian, for an introduction of yourself, or Paul, whichever order you would like to do.
I'll jump in there and go first. My name is Brian Kap. I'm the president and kind of one of the founders of UVnetworks. I've been in the network discovery space for a long time. As you can tell, my gray hair kind of indicates I've been around the space for quite a while, and just really excited about the opportunity to share our technology with everybody out there and also be able to integrate with really great products like Hudu. So excited for this webinar.
Hey everyone, I'm Paul Katzoff. I'm the VP of Sales here at UVexplorer. So pleasure to have you guys on board. Like Brian said, UVexplorer has turned into kind of a data aggregator. You know, we're going to your network, discovering all the devices, all the information that these devices contain and can provide to us. And we've been looking for great partners. We found one in Hudu that's a great IT documentation tool. And we think as we go through this demo, you're going to be able to see on your side the value of, if you're a Hudu client, to come on board with UVexplorer, get that data inside of Hudu, or if you're a UVexplorer client, to get that data and put it into a system like Hudu that you can share with other team members and coworkers and so on. So excited for this demo. Hopefully it's valuable on your side. Again, like Daniel said, if you have any questions, just let us know. We can hop on, do a live Q&A at the end of this and make sure you guys understand the full value, the integration, everything on your side.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian and Paul. So let's hop right into the Hudu side of things. So why would somebody use Hudu? The primary benefits of utilizing Hudu are going to be save time, stand out, and drive growth. And you'll see that with a lot of the tools that Hudu offers. We really try to focus on these main benefits with pretty much all of these new features that Hudu releases, everything in product, everything upcoming. We really want to, you know, the main goal is to empower your technicians, right? And so Hudu is a platform that you give your technicians the platform to excel at their job. And that's really what it comes down to. And through the quick high-level overview that I provide today, hopefully you can see that, and hopefully some of those core tools that you see with Hudu are something that would be super valuable for your technicians and for yourself as well, to keep track of things, to drive growth with your company. That long-term success is what, you know, we're all achieving for, and Hudu is a platform that really allows you to do that. So what we do, and I'll show off these quickly in the demo here in a second, but password management, asset management, knowledge base, and everything you see on this screen, and much, much more. Again, we'll touch on this briefly in our high-level overview here in a sec. But if you're interested in these things, again, I put my email in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me. More than happy to dive more in depth on any of these items as well. Now I'll shoot it over to you, Paul, to talk a little bit about UVexplorer, what you do, for anybody not familiar that's joining in on the webinar today.
Yeah, absolutely. So UVexplorer is a network discovery tool, and our focus, like I mentioned earlier, is to go through your network and discover all the data and information about every device connected to your network. And a big part of this lately has become automation. You know, as we get more and more tools and our networks get more and more sophisticated, we want to have the data delivered and managed automatically throughout our network. So automation is has been a big priority on our side. Because of that automation, we're able to put together, first off, discover your network, and then be able to build out connections throughout your network. So this is with SNMP and other credentials that Brian will go through during this demo. But we're able to visualize your network or provide you with a visualization of this network. So on your side, you can really see how your network is connected, what's connected to what, see if there's any areas that you weren't aware of. A lot of times we come into customers that have been building their own maps by hand for years with Visio and other tools, and they're surprised to discover there's devices they had no idea that's on their network. So part of that is building out a correct inventory. And then of course, during this demo, we're going to go through and be able to provide all this inventory data visualizations into Hudu. So with this integration, you're going to be able to see not only your full network, the devices on your network, but you're also going to be able to see how this works into Hudu so that you can have share access, like I said earlier, to other team members, and really have a storage location for all this data for you to kind of share with others and use. So that's the main benefit of UVexplorer. If you go to the next slide, we do a lot of things across your network. So we have topology mapping, we do config backup if you're startup and running configs, asset discovery. All of these items that we do build out kind of our main solution for UVexplorer, which is network management, network discovery. We kind of straddle those lanes, asset discovery as well. And what we're excited on our side is for you, the Hudu customers, to see exactly what we do and kind of be introduced to our solution, how it can be beneficial for you. We're here to make network engineers' lives easier. Like Brian said, he's been in the space for quite a while now. You're lucky to have him on this call as we go through the demo. If you have any tough questions, feel free to ask. He can get into the weeds very easily. And as the president of our company, he's building out a tool that is for the network engineer so that you guys on your side can be first off, get everything you want with one tool and be able to share this, in Hudu and other systems as well. So like I mentioned, I guess I got ahead of myself. Like I mentioned, our data and everything we discover, we're going to be putting that into Hudu, and I guess we'll just go through that in our demo today.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. So now kind of, we wanted to spend the first couple of minutes here just to introduce the platforms. Obviously, IT documentation meets network discovery, and that's really what we wanted this demo to be about. But here is what I imagine most of you joined for today. We're going to dive in. We're going to cover a quick overview of Hudu, then a quick overview of UVexplorer, and then, of course, talk about those integration capabilities. Show how the integration works, what it pulls in, how that information is presented in Hudu. So let's go ahead and jump right into that now. So starting off with the Hudu side, again, I'm sure a lot of you are coming from Hudu already, but if you haven't seen Hudu, I'm going to go over just a quick high-level overview of how things look, what information you can expect to be presented, and kind of the customization options that you have with Hudu in general. So as soon as you log into Hudu, you will log into this dashboard screen, and we're going to jump straight into our companies, which really serves as the heart and soul of Hudu. You may be managing a couple companies, you may be managing hundreds, thousands. All of your companies will be laid out for you here, and you can easily find whichever one that you're looking for. Jumping straight into a company, you'll see that company's home screen here, as it's for some reason taken a bit to load in for me here. There we go. So when I jump into a company here, we have all of our core tools as well as our asset layouts that we've standardized across our entire Hudu instance. And I'll talk about a little more about that in a bit. So what I like to say is everything in Hudu is siloed. And what I mean by that is each company you create will contain its own documentation, but you do have that standardization across all companies. We're going to jump straight into our core tools here and kind of skip over the home page. But again, like I mentioned, if this looks interesting to you and you want that one-on-one demo of the full platform, feel free to shoot me over an email. First thing that you get with Hudu is the password management section. This is where you can store and organize all your passwords related to this client. You can organize through many different ways, as we can see here with our password folders, but really the goal here is just to quickly find whatever password that we need. Hudu does also have a browser extension where we can easily autofill those passwords on websites and access your company passwords as well as personal passwords through the My Vault. The processes section is really going to focus on your SOPs, things like onboarding, offboarding, new user setups, whatever those may be. We all have SOPs that we complete on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. And it's really nice to have those standardized as processes inside your documentation platform. Again, we can go through, we can complete these SOPs, checking off steps as they are completed, making sure that our technicians are ensuring reproducible results, and all of this is trackable as well. The KB section is probably what you think of with a documentation platform, right? That knowledge repository where we can have our articles, our documents, our how-to guides for doing specific things. And we can have that central repository for company KBs as well as a global KB for articles that make sense to have across all companies. As I click into an article here, this is what that layout is going to look like. There's obviously many different capabilities within our KB section here. The editor is a WYSIWYG editor, and I can make those changes to these articles as needed, as well as with many of these tools, have a full revision history and audit log, so I can make sure I know when articles or passwords are getting changed, who's making those changes, what those changes are, when they were done, and I can go back and view those previous versions as well. Each company does also have a photo section, a photos repository where you can upload your photos for each company. They can also be uploaded through our mobile app, which can be very nice for technicians on site that need to take a quick snapshot of a photo and upload it to Hudu. Very easy to do so. And then photos can also live on other documentation as well and act as a related item. Network serves as a IPAM solution, IP address management. So if you're tracking your, IP addresses, and obviously the UVexplorer side of thing, you'll get a bit more into this as well. But it's difficult to manage and track your networks, and the network section serving as the IPAM tool in Hudu allows you to easily do so. Rack management feature as well. So if you have technicians that need to find devices on racks and there isn't any documentation on that rack, it can be very challenging and time-consuming to find a device. Hudu's rack management solution will ensure every device is accounted for here. The websites, expirations, and alerting, any website that you want to track, all you have to do is provide the URL, and Hudu will automatically populate the rest of what you see on this page. Makes it very easy to manage your websites, your domains, SSL certificates, etc. And of course, we do have a full expirations list for all of our websites, all of our article, warranty, other expirations that can easily be tracked and managed in one central location. And we can set up alerts for these as well. So if you need to be alerted each time something's going to expire, you can easily set that up inside of your documentation platform. Also, didn't mention this earlier, but I do have Jordan in the chat. He's going to be kind of moderating on the Hudu side of things today. So if you have questions that are getting, asked in the chat or the Q&A today, Jordan will go ahead and answer those. And of course, I can answer some things live as well. But as I'm going through this presentation, Jordan will be answering your questions for you as well. But thanks for the shout out on the mobile app photos. Definitely been a pretty cool feature that we were happy to introduce, and it's been awesome to hear all the positive feedback on that. Last thing I'll touch on really quick with our Hudu overview today, as we're kind of gone through all of the core tools, is going to be our asset management component of Hudu. So everything you see under the core tools section are all of our asset layouts that we've created and standardized across our entire Hudu instance. The nice thing about Hudu's asset management system is all of these are completely flexible and customizable. So if I want to track information in here, like company information, applications, vendors, or if I'm syncing in information from another integration like desktops, people, all of these are flexible and customizable to fit your needs and what you want to be tracking for these assets. As I jump into an asset itself, just to show you how this is going to look, we can see integration information come in. We have our flexible asset layout information. And again, all of this is completely flexible. So if I jump into admin and into our asset layouts here we see all of our asset layouts across all of our companies. Anything that has this green check mark labeling it as active is what showed up for us on that left-hand sidebar when I was inside of a company. Now, I just showed off that desktop's asset layout and one of our desktop's asset, and here's where we're populating those fields. We can add new fields for information that we want to track. We can rearrange the fields to show in a different order. We can edit and delete any field we choose. There's nothing stagnant in Hudu. We have full flexibility to add and edit anything that we would need to. And then the last thing I'll just quickly touch on is integrations. Now, obviously, this will go a little more in depth once Brian takes over the UVexplorer side of things, but integrations are one of the primary ways to automate into Hudu along with our REST API. And I won't go too much into this because, again, Brian's going to talk about this specific integration today. But here's where you can set those up and get in that information like I showed earlier with that Ninja card in there. A couple last second things before I turn it over to UVexplorer here. Security-wise, of course, we recognize that security is one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing with any platform in this space. So here's where you can configure things like 2FA, SAML SSO, IP access control, and we are also SOC 2 Type 2, HIPAA, PCI DSS, and GDPR compliant. So that's, somewhat of a high level overview. Time, obviously we don't have too much time here today, but wanted to at least show you, if you haven't seen Hudu, what you can kind of expect when you jump into the platform. And again, as I mentioned, if you want to see a full walkthrough of the platform, want to set up a one-on-one meeting, whatever it may be, please feel free to shoot me an email. I am always more than happy to hop on a call with any of you and go over these items a little more in depth. So I am now going to shoot it over to Brian. I'm going to stop my screen share here. And Brian, if you want to go ahead and take over the screen share and hop into the UVexplorer side of things, the floor is yours.
Great. Hey, thank you very much. And we're going to kind of highlight some of the areas that Daniel just mentioned here inside the Hudu environment. And what you see right here is our UVexplorer client application. This is what we call our agent or our standalone application that is utilized on any network. So you can use it to find every IP device that's attached. Through different discovery technologies, you can utilize protocols such as SNMP, SSH, Telnet, HTTP, VMware, WMI, whatever you need to basically go out and discover your network. We will utilize those protocols and give you the flexibility so you can set up different types of scans across your network to go out and discover the IP addresses that are already there, but also dig into the details of it. And that's one of the specialties of UVexplorer, is not only finding the IP addresses that are on your network, but what are those devices? Are they routers, switches, wireless devices, printers, etc.? And so we automate that whole process. We want to show you today how that can be done and actually utilize all that information and push it over directly into Hudu. Now, normally we'd go through the idea of setting up a default discovery, like I mentioned, through using simple network protocols like SNMP and SSH. But once you already have that set up, you can just go ahead and trigger a discovery. Now, one of the things about UVexplorer is that every time you do a scan, that scan can be captured in what we like to think of as almost like a document. So you can go back in time and see all the discoveries that you've done. So you can actually take our tool on site to a customer's network and actually do a scan there and save that in a repository. whether you do that manually here or you do it on a schedule. You can leave the schedule discovery there to run over time, or you can just capture it and come back to your offices. But once you have that scan done, you can go ahead and open it. And our viewer here will do a presentation here of the categories. So all devices, all core devices to us are things that have performed some type of network function on your network. S&P devices are ones that respond to S&P, routers, switches, wireless controllers. And like I said, UVnetworks has been, the engineering team behind UVnetworks has been together for a long time. We've built products across the board for lots of different network management platforms, including HP, Symantec, What's Up Gold, lots of different platforms. But UVexplorer is meant to go ahead and extract some of our intelligence and also be able to share that with lots of different types of environments. And as you look at these discovery results, you'll notice up here at the top that you get an automatic map. You will show you exactly how the network is actually put together. So here we're looking at all of our switches, and you can zoom in here and see how exactly what ports they're connected on, what type of devices they are, what type of interfaces, bridge ports and VLANs, and everything connected from either individual connections to other network devices or to all devices on the network. So you can see a full map of everything that's on the network, or you can hone in on just individual components. Now, with that, these maps can be exported in lots of different formats: Lucid Chart, PDF, SVG, or Visio. By simply right-clicking and doing an export, you can generate a Visio document. And that document is actually intelligent. It has lots of information like the serial numbers, model numbers, etc., that you can put into a document. But interesting, jumping over to the integration with Hudu, by simply putting together an integration by using the REST API key, you can simply connect UVexplorer to the Hudu environment. And by right-clicking on the map, you can say, I want to export this map to Hudu. So I can go ahead and connect to my Hudu instance, and it's going to show me the different companies that I have over in my Hudu instance. So I got my test companies, a couple demos, and I got the UVnetworks. And I can pick which network I want to export to, and I can choose whether I want to export devices. I want to export the IP addresses. Like Daniel said, it becomes very difficult to manage IP addresses when they're constantly changing. UVexplorer can keep that up to date and what devices have been assigned different IP addresses. Also, you can export the latest configs for these devices. You can export the passwords that we actually discovered on these devices, and even export the network maps to a particular network or a site inside of Hudu. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that I want to do a PDF map to my Site A network, but I'm going to export everything I found in this environment. So by simply clicking on export, it's going to go ahead and connect to the Hudu environment. It's going to check to see if those devices already exist. You notice that it had to add and create a bunch of IP addresses. Now I'm pushing over configurations for my network infrastructure, like routers and switches that I'd already done as a backup. And then I'm going to go ahead and create passwords and also associate those passwords with my infrastructure. So now if I jump over to this, what was an empty network, and now if I click into here, you can see that now I have network devices all listed here. These are the same network devices that I discovered inside of UVexplorer with their role, what they are. So if I click into them, you'll see I got a switch, IP address, a serial number, the description. And also along with that, I've already created its associated IP address with the subnet it's in. Also, what passwords I discovered about that device. So it supports both SNMP and SSH. And at the same time, I did exports of the startup and running config. So this is the startup, this is the running configuration. This is the startup configuration for that device. As a network admin or as a network professional, you can go back in time and actually grab those, and if you have to restore them, they're automatically kept there. But I can see here, now I just did networks devices, but on this network, I also go to site A, which I was able to deposit the network map. So I can easily see how the network is put together, where individual devices are, and then I can go capture that at different times. So you can run discoveries on schedules to run every day, every week, and then you can also go back in time and see what those maps look like and see if there's changes. So now if I jump back over to my my network devices, one of the great features of being able to have a separate discovery engine that kind of drives the data collection of network devices. If you don't like what you saw there and you want to go ahead and throw everything away inside, I can go back into Hudu and I can delete out these devices, and then I can just go simply re-export them. But in this instance, I noticed that I'm like, oh, wow, I just got all my network devices, but I didn't do anything with my printers. So I'm going to go back into my printers category. I'm going to go hit the map and export. I'm going to export that to Hudu. And I'm going to go ahead and connect that. Say, yes, I want to go to the UVnetworks company. I'm going to do the export devices. And I don't really need anything about configs on these devices. I will export the passwords. By clicking that, I see that they're missing. I go ahead and create them. And now, just that simple, I now have my two printers, their make, model, serial numbers, everything about them, IP address, S&P, it's all there. Now, we are currently doing just direct manual exports into Hudu, but all of these things can be driven through what we call scheduled discoveries. So scheduled discoveries, you can set up a discovery to run on a customer site. You can do it every 5 minutes, every hour, every day, every week. And at the end of it, you can just go ahead and connect that discovery agent to Hudu, target the company network, and it will automatically keep everything in sync with what we've done here manually. The emphasis here is obviously identity. We don't want to create duplicate assets. So we use IP addresses, MAC addresses, serial numbers, everything like that we can to make sure that the assets that we see inside of Hudu are consistent with what we're discovering on the outside. But again, our scheduled discovery, our automated export can be targeted at any company. UVexplorer can be run as a standalone product, or it also can be run as a distributed agent server-based product. We have actually a UVexplorer server that can coordinate 1, 5, hundreds of agents that you can distribute across your management infrastructure, whether they across different companies or across a large enterprise. And you can set those up to automatically discover and export those into the
Did we lose you, Brian?
Yeah, I can't hear him anymore as well. Paul, not sure if how much more, if you know, Brian was planning to show off today, or
Yeah, I think he was just wrapping up that it'd be exported out to this Hudu system. So just to kind of reiterate what he was saying, on UVexplorer server, we can have multiple agents. So let's say you're an MSP and you have 50 clients, you can put a UVexplorer agent on each of those networks, and they'll report into whatever instance of or company that you have in Hudu. So you can have each agent reporting into that Hudu company and uploading that data and having it be a storage location or IT documentation just for that client alone. And then your client has access to that Hudu, of course, to see all the data that we're capturing. So we've built that out already. It's available today. So if you're interested in that, please reach out. Happy to go through a one-on-one demo with you as well. Connect it with your Hudu instance, export out some data just so you can see it working and kind of fine tune it on your side. But yeah, that's pretty much most of the integration our side, our demo. So Daniel, we'll pass it back to you.
Awesome. Sounds great. Well, obviously we are just a couple of minutes over here, just 2 minutes, so not too bad here. Pretty on par with what we were hoping for. But that being said, like I mentioned earlier, if anybody has any questions, whether it be on the Hudu, the UVexplorer side, really whatever that may be, we're more than happy to just stay on for a couple of minutes here and make sure that you get all of those questions answered. This time is designated for just a Q&A section. And like Paul mentioned and I've mentioned, if you want to, explore these tools any farther, please reach out to us. We both provided our emails in the chat there. If you want to get a free trial started, both of these products offer free trials. So visit us at our websites. You can get started with a free trial at either of those sites. Otherwise, though, we'll stick on for a couple more minutes here just in case we have any questions come in. Otherwise, got you 3 minutes too long. I was hoping to get right at 30, but that one's on me. So feel free to that's kind of all we have for the kind of content-based items today. But again, feel free to drop off. Otherwise, thank you all so much for joining us. Again, we'll stick on, answer some questions, but thank you. Always great to collaborate on things like this. Thanks, Paul and Brian, if you're back with us for showing off the UVexplorer side. Pretty cool stuff that we were able to see today.
Yeah,
Paul, do you
absolutely.
have anything
Yeah,
else?
thank you. Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Jordan. We love the Hudu team, and we're excited for this integration. And on our side, we're going to keep building this out and improving it. So as customers have recommendations, it's always a work in progress nowadays in software. So I will continue to improve that.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a great point, Paul, and something that we typically see in these webinars as well. If you have anything that maybe you saw in the integration today or from either side that you think that would be something, there's something else that would be really cool with this integration, please let us know that. We're always trying to provide the most benefit based off our integrations and obviously the products themselves. So if there's anything else that you're curious about or just want to see more of within the integration, please let us know that. Submit a feature request. I'm not sure if UVexplorer, you have an area for people to submit feature requests and everything, but
yeah, they'll just submit them to me, I think.
Yeah. Okay, great. So yeah,
We'll
Paul's your guy. Paul provided his email there. Please feel free to reach out to him, reach out to me with anything else. Yeah, thank you for joining. I appreciate the call. And yeah, it looks like we have somebody in the chat saying that they'll be reaching out to you soon, Paul. So
Perfect.
Yeah, that's great. Doesn't look like we have any other questions. I've given it a couple minutes here just in case. So we'll go ahead and call it for the day. Don't want to take too much of anyone else's time on this Wednesday. So wherever you're joining us from, whether you're across the country, I think we had a New Zealand earlier. Don't even begin to know what time it is there, but thanks so much for joining us. Always great to have this, customer interaction, whether you're a customer of Hudu, customer of UVexplorer, hopefully soon to be of either or both. Thank you all for joining us and collaborating on this today. Paul, Brian, great to talk a little bit more about this today, and thanks for providing your insight on the UVexplorer side of things.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Darmendra out there in Scotland, thanks for joining as well. And we'll talk to you guys hopefully soon.
All righty. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.